special agenda budget workshop, the Lander County Commission meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin, the Board of County Highway Commissioners for March 18th, 2020. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get the meeting called to order. Brian, you wanna lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to go ahead and do a moment of silence, please. All right. So before we get started, the county manager had a statement he wanted to make.
I'd like to request that we go into an emergency meeting to discuss a few items, if that's okay.
Do we need a motion for that?
No,
I don't think so, but,
you could make a motion to recess, but the chair can recess by herself.
All right,
okay,
go ahead.
thank you. There's a few things I'd like to cover today. One being with this current situation of the coronavirus outbreak. I would like to cancel next week's regular commission meeting. It was a fairly small agenda. I believe we only had 3 or 4 items on it. So that's my first request to this board.
Want a motion to cancel next week's regularly scheduled meeting? I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I will get that in the paper ASAP, and we'll also put it around town. The next item, or the next thing I would like to do is to discuss canceling this budget workshop. I have been in contact with the Department of Taxation. I will read you the email string. I sent an email to Carrie Gransberry last evening asking if there was some way to extend our requirement for submission of the tentative budget. What I got back from her this morning was, at this point, there is nothing allowing for an extension of the budgetary deadlines. I do understand the workshops and meetings leading up to the budget will create an issue. However, at this point, there is nothing allowing for the extension within our regulations. The tentative, which is what we're working on today, needs to be signed by the individual responsible for preparing it. So, with this board's approval, I can sign the tentative, I wanna make that very clear, this is a tentative budget, and submit it to the Department of Taxation. The tentative needs to be signed by the individual responsible for preparing it, while the final does need to be signed by the board. So what that means is, there will be a final budget workshop. The tentative is not the budget we will be working off of, or this county will be working off of next fiscal year. We will have to have a board signed and approved final budget to submit to the Department of Taxation by I'm looking, just give me a second.
June 1st.
Yeah, there it is, by June 1st. So prior to that, we will have a final budget hearing that this board will discuss, and we will submit, once you guys approve it and assign it, that's when it'll be submitted. This by no means is the budget we are gonna work off next fiscal year. I want to make that very clear. I think we should cancel this meeting, but it is to lie with the responsibility of this board to give that authorization and to allow me to sign the tentative budget. Once again, this is not the budget Lander County will work off of next fiscal year.
So
We're gonna leave our mics on.
I'm sorry.
I understand everything, Keith, but we're here, delaying things. We don't know what the situation's gonna be in the future as far as this issue. So as long as everybody else is fine with it, I honestly, we're still kinda new in everything as far as outbreaks and whatnot. So my feeling is we're here I'm okay with going forward.
Yeah, so my only concern is if we approve a tentative budget, and if something does happen on an emergency statewide basis to where we can't meet to draft a final, because that could happen. The governor could say, state of emergency, blah, 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 we have to roll with that tentative budget. I'm not okay with that.
Actually, what we roll with is the current budget. The current approved budget will just roll into next year.
So do we have that in writing somewhere? I mean, where does that come from, Keith? I'm not doubting you.
No, I understand that, and correct me, Ted or Cindy, but that is my understanding. If we do not submit a budget, that it does, our current budget rolls over to the following year.
Is that
I
correct?
think that's because the Department of Taxation takes that decision. If we never get it in, let's just say on a regular year, if we don't file timely, then they lock us into the budget the year before.
From the
Gotcha.
previous.
That's pretty automatic, yes.
So,
That is correct.
Go ahead, Ted.
He said that's correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
Cindy is absolutely correct.
You're evergreen.
correct.
Right. Well, I'm fine. I mean, me personally, I'm fine with rolling and continuing with their budget workshop. That's
As am
my
I.
opinion.
It's-
I certainly am. I thought this was extremely important because of the time frame, and like you said, as long as we're all here, let's just see where we can go. Maybe we can kind of speed things up a little bit and get a handle on it, because I think things are gonna get worse before they get better. And so as long as we're here and it's a good time, we'll keep everybody apart and people call in where they can, and let's go for it.
I would ask that you consider that because, as you can see here, there's well over 10 people. Sorry, Kim Schott, Lander County EMS. I would ask that you consider it because this is very serious. And just amongst yourselves, there is more than 10 people in a room. We can't afford to lose you to an illness, to lose me to an illness. That'll put us out. And you won't get your budgets done. I mean, that's all your business, but I would recommend highly that you consider that we have more than 10 people in this room, as per their recommendations.
I agree with you, Kim. I think it's the prudent thing to do, but I'm outnumbered right now.
Right.
I guess one of the things that I do ask is then, and, you know, point noted, Kim, I understand that, is maybe having a little bit of dispersion with the people in the chambers. You know, there's plenty of seats to spread out.
But you're in a locker room with the same ventilation.
Well,
It's
I,
not cut and dry.
it's not cut and dry, and we still don't know everything, but maybe to err on the side of caution in that respect is try to get people to spread out a little bit to.
I think the governor said no meetings over 10 people.
Can I make a
So-
comment as well? So
Commissioner?
Brandy Mango, a community health nurse. So the president and the governor both have said non-essential meetings should be canceled. We shouldn't have more than 10 people in a room at a time. If we're going to have more than 10 people in the room, then we need to do social distancing. All of you are 2 feet away from each other. You should be 6 feet away from each other. So if one is contaminated, then the other one is. You're all isolated for 14 days if one person tests positive or they're suspected. So that is the current recommendation from both the governor and the president.
I would like to say, Commissioners, that I didn't just come up with this. I've been in discussion with, like I say, taxation, with our community health, who's been in contact with the state health. So it wasn't just something that I decided, oh, this will be a fun thing to do, so we don't have to sit here for the next 2 days. I'm taking this very seriously. I'm trying to limit the exposure to the community as well. And I would like to request a closed session. I do have some information that I want to pass on to you.
Well,
So do you wanna go in closed session now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so let's go ahead and go into closed session now, please.
So Austin, I'm gonna have to drop you, so how do I do that if I'm gonna drop Austin?
She could just hang out.
Have her hang up.
Yeah.
Are we ready? All right, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting back to order.
I'm gonna make a motion that we postpone this budget workshop for a future date because of the coronavirus.
Have a second? Is there a second? No second?
It dies then.
Well,
Okay.
for me, Rita Rogers standing back here, you guys have your meeting, I'm going back, I'm done with this. I know of 2 cases in this town, they've self-quarantined, and I know several that's come in from Washington, and I also know they have been stopped, and now they are infected. So, you guys do what you wanna do. I'm a taxpaying citizen, and I feel that everybody's lives are more important than anybody sitting up there that don't think this is a serious matter. My budget, you all have a copy of it, I'm not asking for not one more dime, except for some landscaping. You can approve it or not approve it. It's that simple.
So.
I'll second.
This is
Okay,
serious.
okay, just relax, just 1 second, all right? We're all equally concerned, so now you have a second, okay? So relax. So we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I do have one other thing I'd like to touch on real quick during our emergency meeting. I would like to request that the commission give the flexibility to allow people to work from home without affecting their pay. I've put together, last night I was up fairly late, making a list of talking points that I think we need to get together on with the sheriff, Public Works, the senior center, if I can, Sandy at the senior center, so we can talk about some of our targeted areas. As you can see, what we've done in the building here is we've closed those blinds, and we talk through those blinds, and we do business under those blinds at this point. Some of my talking points would be to protect our employees, to protect their health and well-being, to protect their wage. That was made pretty clear at the state and federal level. That we talk about essential services, the fire department, EMS, law enforcement. And I have spoken with Ron a little bit this morning already, that we talk about our water and sewer. What is gonna be a life-threatening or an emergency call? Are we gonna look at backed up sewers? Are we gonna go turn water on? Anything where we would have interaction with the public. We talk about our target, our high-risk population, asthma, people over 60, anybody with a special medical issue. Elderly, we need to talk about food banks, how we're gonna distribute food to the population, the people that can't get out of their houses, the people that need food, medication, baby formula. Small businesses, this is gonna affect our small businesses in this county. Our golf course, we forgot to mention that, I forgot to mention that last week. That's a county building, are we gonna have them closed down? Are we gonna let them continue as a restaurant or golf course, or golfing?
They can't.
Pardon me?
They can't.
Oh, okay, I'm, these are things
Well, I
that,
don't know, I understand, but this,
Unless they have drive-up food.
are we gonna talk about mobile pickup for our restaurants? Something that we can work with our restaurant owners, our local businesses on to keep them somewhat afloat. Our senior center, mobile deliveries, medications, the essentials these seniors need to just survive. We're gonna get them toilet paper, things like that. Are we gonna set up possibly, and I'll work with the hospital on this, are we gonna set up some kind of, once test kits become available? I noticed, I was watching back east, they have mobile testing set up, but it's back east, and you just drive in, they swab you, and you're good to go. Are we gonna talk about doing some kind of a drive-through, and I will discuss this with Lepsy, as well as the hospital.
and the hospital already has those plans,
Okay.
have got those set.
Okay. But these are some of the things that I'm gonna meet with, our emergency manager, the sheriff, our public works director on. But my main concern is at this point is our employees and the availability or the flexibility to allow people to work from home.
Well, number one, this is not agendized for us to take.
It's part of the
action.
emergency meeting though,
Oh, okay.
yes. That's it, just wanted to continue.
Ted, are we good with that as far as open meeting?
Yes.
I have some
As
declarations.
long as,
Keith,
now Keith, excuse me a second. Keith needs to put on the record the reason for the emergency meeting.
thought you did it when we began.
I thought I did, Ted, at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay,
Yes, I think I did. I did.
if you covered it, then we're fine. I'm answering the question
Okay.
fully.
My question is Austin.
And this includes the entire county. I should have made that clear at the beginning.
Okay, because we don't have any way to close off, like you do here. And we have some serious, things that we cover, for example, the cemetery.
Yes.
So, it's difficult to work from home. Plus, we don't have Wi-Fi. So, I mean, if we put up something, we'd have to put it in the front of the courthouse if the whole courthouse closes down, if we do that, and say, maybe something on a recorder if you have an emergency, and maybe then Michelle could come in and look up the cemetery information then and get back to them or something, and do that on a call basis.
Yes,
type of
and
thing.
those are some of the things I like I said, I'd like to discuss with Ron and the emergency manager of the county, and come up with an action plan that once we do, would get emailed to all of you
So,
to see.
quick question on like the Austin phone, like for that stuff, is there a way to forward the calls that come in to her phone?
We really couldn't do that because she runs a motel. I mean, that would be very difficult. She doesn't.
That's what I'm saying, go to her cell phone, you can have those calls forwarded to us. I'm just putting out a suggestion.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't have to go back
Well,
5 or
maybe we
6
can
times
forward
a
it to
day.
my phone or something like
Okay,
that. I mean, we
yeah.
can still make
Yes.
some type of arrangements, I'm sure. But the other thing is, when they're talking about essential services and what they want closed down, would that include, like, I know the Toyabe has closed already in
Yeah.
Austin. I don't know about the International, but what about the motels? I mean, is that essential? It is.
They
If,
said
it
no,
is
they
if you're
said
on the
they're
road.
Closing them. They said, the governor said last night they were giving him till noon today to get all of the people out of the hotels.
But that's not mandatory. That was just
Yeah, that
a,
was mandatory.
that was the directive, or it was
Didn't you get a-
mandatory.
I
shut
believe you all got a
Vegas down.
copy of his statement last night.
Laura?
Yeah.
Laura, could
Come
you
up-
please
come-
come up to the,
Laura Duvall, for the record, the concern about closing the motels, and I'm not arguing, but for some people, that's their only place they
I
have
know.
to live.
I understand
There's a
that.
lot of people living in motels, where are they supposed to
I don't
go?
know if he, honestly, I don't know if he thought of that
Did
when
he
he said
consider
that. But I watched the live video and that's and I thought, I was thinking the same thing. A lot of people live in those hotels.
We have
What
a
if-
housing shortage in this state, and we have
We have
a
people
rental
in the
crisis.
Owl that live there. So that's I mean, these are all
Put them in
questions.
the street?
Yeah, good I mean, that's an
I see
absolutely.
isolating them to their rooms maybe, for the most part, well, even then, they've gotta have a way to get food.
Food.
I mean, I feel like, Randy, for the record, Randy Bengoa, I feel that the hotels are similar to apartment complexes in the city, so maybe for the rural areas, we could discuss that with them, we'll get it.
Yeah, because we honestly, we need some clarification on that, because that's exactly,
Yeah.
in all of these rural areas, that's a huge issue. He literally said, out by noon, I'm thinking, where are all these people going to go?
Not just the rural, it's in the city.
Well, no, and I understand that, but right now, I'm thinking right here, just because of,
Kathy?
For us.
go
Well,
ahead.
we still do have people traveling in their private cars, and we're 100 miles from everywhere. What are they gonna do, sleep in your car? I mean, it's 14 degrees.
So, and I understand everybody's issues with this. I don't know if there's a differentiation between, people that live in the motels basically are paying rent, it's their home. But this is an order by our government, and I don't know if we're in a position to be able to, ignore that. I mean, our governors, so I don't know if we can ignore that. I also don't know what how you enforce something like this.
Ted?
I'm not
Well,
speaking.
number one, the only, yes.
If the governor says that you have to shut it down, you shut it down, right?
Well, I want to see it on paper. I'd like to see an order of that kind on paper. I think there's going to be a declaration of emergency and rules that follow it. And that's what I talked to Keith this morning, that we have 3 examples of proclamations and declarations of emergency by 3 different counties. and that stuff is included in that. We should be getting one from the governor, because just going on TV and saying things doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate.
All right, but Judy, go ahead and finish what you had to say, please.
No, that's
Okay.
I
fine.
don't believe, that we're at this,
My question would be enforcement.
Ted, or Keith, I have a question for you. As far as sending employees home, are we talking about to working from home, are we talking about the ones that are at risk, the ones that meet the age criteria or the illness criteria?
it would be generally overall if they have sick kids or sick people at home, the targeted populations, whether we, rotate them through.
Because if we're sending some home that don't meet those classifications, then it's just, I mean, how is that gonna be with our bargaining units? Why aren't we sending everybody home?
So I have spoken with
Keith?
you. I've talked a little bit with the union, Mr. Herring, Phil Herring, OE3 representative about this. At this point, he wants to know what the commission's gonna do. He wants to know what they're gonna do. I had another call scheduled with him at our lunch break today, so I will get some more information from him. He is pretty much in support of whatever the commission decides. He wants it to be fair as well. His concern is the target age groups.
Well, I would be okay with the age group and people that have, existing, medical conditions.
Okay.
And so, one of the things, and like Ted said, we haven't gotten anything in writing from the governor yet, but one of the other things they said he closed all state offices. Huh? Yeah, so he closed all
To
the
the
state.
public.
Yeah, so I mean,
To the
so I
public.
asked Keith, that was one of my questions, well, if he closed all the state offices, what are all the counties supposed to do? I mean, that's kind of where we're,
Well, and that's gonna be the thing too, the elected officials, you know, that we have out here, that's gonna be their call whether they keep their departments open or not.
Well, I want to talk to you as well on that. I want to keep you guys in the loop on it, and it's always nice if the board is in agreement with everything that goes on in the county.
What about just leaving it up to each and every individual employee's discretion?
That's an option, yes.
You know, instead of, you know,
I'm not for that.
well, it's kind of, how do you,
I mean, we could look at this as the worst case scenario, everybody should just go home and stay in their houses for 14 days. I mean,
But-
it's just, seriously, gridlock, everything shuts down, it's just,
I know, Brian, but by the same token is you're kind of semi-discriminating, which,
no, we're
Yeah.
not. We have a class of people. What is the age groups, the people that are currently sick, that's what I'm saying. Those are the ones that are at risk. Am I correct in saying that?
They have, there's underlying health conditions too that put them at higher risk.
Right.
so, come
Kim
on.
Schott, Landon County. I do have an issue with this because I don't believe that everybody that has an underlying condition should have to disclose that to you. If they have some kind of private medical
Yeah,
issue, I don't
that's true.
believe that they should have to tell everybody and explain it to you why
Why we
they
get-
are at risk.
I
You know,
just-
and then we all have, if you get the one going, this is all stupid, and I have a cold, it's nothing, but yet you do, now you've exposed the ones that are working, who have babies at home or kids at home. It's a tough decision, but at this point, if we don't do something, they are gonna gridlock us. They are going to shut us down. And we won't have a decision. I mean, I think if people are working, that's all that should matter. If they're working, whether it be from home or here or wherever, but I think that to limit that exposure is key.
Yeah, those people that can work from home, but, you know, if we have people that are cleaning, stuff like that, the
Right.
rec center
Right.
can clean, 10-to-1 with bleach, they can scrub everything down,
And if
they
you've
can.
got that shut down and they have no exposure coming in from the outside, that's great.
Because Russ Klein explained that the schools aren't shut down. The teachers are spending a week getting ready to teach for the next 2 weeks online. So they're still working.
Leslie, for the,
Leslie,
up.
could you
Sorry.
please come up?
I have a couple of issues, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. This is Leslie from the Recorder's Office. The school's handing out packets to parents to take, and they're coming in by alphabetical names,
Order.
however, to get their stuff so everybody's not on the same page at the same time. I have issues too because I have DMV in my office, which closes Friday till April 6th. We cannot conduct any business for DMV at all throughout the state. There's just, it's down, it's done. So, I mean, I can incorporate the employees to do work in the office and other things and do other ways, but I'm not really sure. I did a research project with a lot of the recorders in the county, in different counties, and what the different counties are doing and what their plans are, and 90% of them are closing to the public. A lot of them have the ability to work from home, which I do not. A lot of them are staggering their employees a week at a time, so everybody's taking a turn. I'm not sure what we should or should not do, but it sounded like a good idea to stagger your employees, have one in a week and one not in, and then switch them, as long as everybody stays healthy. But this is a tough decision for you guys, and I just want you to know we'll do whatever we can do to support you.
Well,
But we just have to think of their benefit too. I have an employee that I had to send home, very high risk. So,
that's up to you. That's up to the elected officials in their departments.
well, as long as my view is, and I could be completely wrong, is that as long as we meet your timelines and keep the business going, that's great. But we have the drop box in our office, so if anybody needed to drop something off, we have to be there. I will be there, but somebody has to be there to keep things going too, unless they say no more, nothing, like you said, for 2 weeks, which probably there's a lot of logic in what you're saying if we're trying to slow this down, but I'm just wanting you to know what I'm dealing with in my office.
There's a lot of discussion about federal money coming to the states to keep these public agency workers paid through this. So eventually, I mean, if you're concerned about people getting paid, the money's coming in.
I'm really
And
not.
we're already budgeted for this year anyway, so
I'm
we're in
not worried
safe
about the
territory.
pay. I think we need to pay our employees. It's not their fault, it's not our fault.
Absolutely.
Governor says, president says, gotta go with them. But, I'm just trying to do what's best for us and what's best for them. Regardless of what they face in their day, we have a different day and we have different people doing different things. We have to think about the people that are having their little businesses that are so hard to run and now they have to close it. There are avenues they can take, but it's tough. I don't begrudge you your decisions at all.
So
but-
my question, I have a question,
Sure.
I'm starting to talk just so I don't forget. So my question is, like Elko County Sheriff's Office, they closed their sheriff's office, so everybody's taking reports, obviously not, they're not letting anybody in
Yeah.
to their sheriff's office. So they're not letting the public in, so are we going to consider letting the public in and people who wanna stay, or are we considering, I mean, we have two options here we need to figure out. Are we
Well,
letting the public in,
Another
or
view
we're not
of
letting
that,
them in?
Correct.
another view of that is we do have credit cards, we do have online services, we do have checks. You can write a check for whatever you need. We do have a drop box on the side that they can use. And like I said, 90% of the individuals that did chime in on what their counties are doing are closing their businesses to the public completely during this time. But not in a way that they can't function. They still have a place to drop their payments, they still have ways to take care of their business. Just saying.
So I just do wanna comment on some things.
Done with me, or do you need to ask me?
No, I'm done, that's okay.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie. I know, it's not signed yet, possible extension for paying taxes. The federal government is granting some leniency, whatnot is. There is a possibility, if we consider it this way, is having some offices open, critical offices that, obviously Leslie can't do the DMV. I'm not sure how much recording would be conducted during this whole thing. Justy's office, the treasurer, I don't know when taxes are due, but, it's a possibility of granting an extension. Is those offices, now, the Sadie's office, obviously, elections. Is the governor talked about non-essential businesses, but also stop and think about maybe non-essential offices within the county. There are some employees, like you said, that we may be able to set up work from home. Is leave it up to the elected officials for their departments to determine what they want to do.
You don't have a choice there, Commissioner.
So can I finish, Ted? Is that the employees, we can't say you can't go home, but you can. Is leave it up to the employees.
It's up to the elected officials.
Well, and that's what I said, is it's up to the elected officials in their departments and their employees.
Commissioner, that's
That's
just
it.
what I'm
That's
asking.
the bottom line.
That was what I was asking for, is the flexibility to allow that to happen. I understand that the elected officials have the oversight or the responsibility within their offices, but as Leslie, the recorder, said, we wanna all cooperate, we wanna work together and get through this as a group. So that's why I'm bringing this to you. I've had discussions with every elected official in this building, numerous discussions. Sadie this morning, we were texting back and forth. Clark County's closed their clerk's office, Sadie?
I believe so, and then I just got a message, Washoe County, though, their DA is not allowing them.
Just to the public.
No, I believe Clark County closed it, Ted. That's, unless I'm wrong, Sadie.
I'll have to look at the
Okay.
email exactly.
But that's why we're here. We wanna work together. Everybody wants to work together and get through this. I understand they don't need your permission, but like I said, it's nice to work together.
Absolutely.
Everybody to be on the same page and work toward one common goal, is to protect the county employees and the citizens of this county, the communities.
Cool.
Bert Ramos for the record, so elected or not, the employees that work for them are union employees. And at the end of the day, the commission has to decide what we're gonna do for every employee, regardless of age, regardless of exposure, or an elected official's position of how they feel what this virus really is or isn't. It falls on the Board of Commissioners here to decide what you're going to do with all union employees across the board. So whatever decision you make today, I think needs to be based on that, not of age or an elected official's opinion, because the employee is a union protected employee, and I just don't want us to make a decision that puts us in a bind with the union moving forward.
I'd like to make a motion, if you guys are ready, okay? I make a motion that Lander County do a declaration of emergency, authorize the areas of responsibility to the department heads to issue waivers, exercise administrative leniency in the application and enforcement of the county and ordinances, rules, and regulations, and have emergency powers to direct appropriate staffing levels within the department, and allow our county manager to continue with the handling the resources available for our citizens.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Cindy, you're not in the hot seat anymore.
Goodness.
Say,
What's the vote? I didn't hear.
Unanimous.
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 All right, so,
Make a motion to adjourn.
no, Lakin, do you,
wait,
I'm
you
sorry.
got somebody, yeah, that's, we still have,
And I have a question.
okay.
Lakin Sullivan for the record. I just wanted to point out, which, I mean, the motion's already been made, but just to kind of touch on the school, as a mom and a school board member, we had our meeting last night, and the teachers have prepared huge packets for parents to pick up on Monday. And so as a parent, that is also another concern. Obviously, the virus is the biggest concern, but we have our kiddos at home right now, and we have to teach them over the next 2 weeks. So being at work and being a full-time mom, that's very hard to do. As of right now, my daycare's still open, but I don't want my kids there. So just something to think about.
Lakin?
Yeah.
Are the teachers available to help the students during the day?
Only, it's a teacher by teacher basis. They have been directed they are supposed to contact every student every day
Okay,
and see how they're doing.
okay.
Shannon Berman for the record. Just to make a little bit of a clarification on my end of it, for the state offices, our direction has been coming down from the university for several days, and it's all offices are being closed and employees are being sent home, not just closed to the public. And as of 5:03 last night, my office was shut down. The state halted all state hiring, so we will not have an extension educator indefinitely for we don't know how long. And so our office is closed. Charlene is working from home, and the extension has left it up to Keith to decide about my position for that office. And then, of course, the CD being separate, I haven't even touched on the board yet. We haven't even discussed what to do moving forward for them. So.
Thank you. Laura, please, thank you.
Very good, well, for the record, I think one thing that's going on right now is a lot of fear. Excuse me, and the school shutting down for 2 weeks puts the parents in, and there's some of them in our county here, in a really bad position. Daycares aren't wanting to take the kids, some people don't want to take their children. Because right now it's mass fear, mass chaos, I would like to see the commissioners just shut down the courthouse for the 2 weeks, the duration that the school is, let people calm down a little bit, and I got people in my office that are scared. And
I have a question.
I
if
think to
anybody-
kind of calm everything and maybe get everybody, you know, a little bit, you know, taken out of this situation to where they're not afraid, it's just a consideration.
I think it's gonna get worse in the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
Because
well-
the testing kits are being made available, and then based on what
I
the
know.
findings are, media's gonna run with that, and it's just gonna, I think things are gonna get worse.
So
That's
I
my
have-
personal opinion.
This
I'm
is
sorry.
right out off of Fox News right now. Trump said that if we don't heed the quarantine warning, we will see death in the United States like never before. He's calling it war.
So my question is, and I don't know if anybody can really answer this. Basically, our governor has stated that non-essential businesses will be closed for 30 days, which is 2 days after, or 2 days after he said we're closing the schools for 3 weeks. Well, we don't know yet. Does that extend to the schools of 30 days? Are our schools only gonna be closed till April 6th? Is it gonna continue? You know, are they gonna be closed longer?
My
With
underst-
that, okay, I want to say, so just so I don't forget, one of the things that, back east, they're closing the schools for the rest of the year. So just, I don't know if nobody's heard that, I mean, that's how it's rolling. It's kind of rolling this way, from the east coast, west coast, they're just closing the schools
Yes.
for the rest of the year, so I mean, that's.
So, with what Bert said, as far as all, like, basically union employees, so my concern would be if we did send all employees home, how does that affect our sheriff's department, people who enforce?
They're essential.
They're
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They're different.
They said the sheriff, all law enforcement will stay open, but they don't have to keep their front windows open, they can take reports like Elko's.
But they have union employees, that's what I'm saying,
It's a different association. It's
Yeah.
not this county. I think they have 3 associations,
They have two.
Two at the sheriff's office. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Denise Fortune for our General Justice Court. I understand that you guys may want to close the courthouse down, but if you do, my office is not able to close.
Right.
My office is not able to close until the Supreme Court says we close, because we do have people in custody that we have to deal with.
Exactly.
We also handle emergency temporary protective orders for anybody in the public. We have to be available 24/7, 365 days a week. So our office is not going to be able to close unless the president or the Supreme Court come in and say,
Well, I think,
we're all closed. But
Yesterday, Denise and I went to court in Elko.
That
We
goes
did
to
it
my
by
office
telephone.
also.
That's how Judge Potter did it
Well,
yesterday.
I'm doing an order right now. All the courts are working on orders. We've been directed by the Supreme Court to do orders. Tony's up at my office working on ours right now. Essential cases, in custody people are essential cases. We can't just leave people sitting in jail because we don't wanna see them.
Right.
Same with temporary protective orders and things like that. We are staying our evictions, our executions, our small claims. We're not dealing with that. The things that we can move off of calendar because of High and TED, we are moving off of the calendar. We can continue those. Any court proceedings that we have to have by law within 15 days, 30 days, we have to do them. As of now, we have to leave stuff on the calendar, so the court is a little bit different.
So at this point, we're not closing down the courthouse. It's up to each individual elected officials' departments to decide. We're giving them the option of letting the employees, if they can, work from home. And like I said, the elected officials making that determination of who's working and who's not. But we're not shutting down the courthouse.
Okay, all right, thank you.
May I talk, or does Ted need to restate his?
Ted, you spoke over a little bit, can you restate what you were saying, please?
Well, I was saying that what Denise is saying is true legally, and that goes for my office also, and the sheriff's office. We can close to the public, but we have to remain open.
Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
all right, go ahead.
Sadie Sullivan, Lander County Clerk. I'll keep in touch if some of those offices are closed, but I'll keep in touch with Keith and the commissioners. We will be open because we're still rolling with the elections. We're waiting to see, they have several things on the table of what direction they want to do. So until we get word from the president, we'll be open, same with the governor, because of the election factor.
Thank you.
I'm sure any of our departments that have deadlines with things are making exceptions and waivers, such as the DMV and our taxes. And if you're not filing right properly on time, that they have the authority to waive that. So I think that's all considered. So that takes care of the citizens on a time frame that might not be able to get right in.
Okay.
I have two quick questions. One, on the declaration, we'll get something written up on your wording, but we're gonna need the motion for the chair or the vice chair to sign it as well.
So moved.
Correct, Ted?
I believe that, Keith, did you hand out those
Yes,
sample
I did.
declarations?
Yes, I did.
I think we need to do one up and have it approved somehow by the whole board.
Okay. All right, I'll
But
get
we
with,
can do one. We can do one that conforms to the motion and do that. But there's other things that need to be added to it. So maybe we should get you to sign the one that's already been approved, and then we can modify it later.
okay, that was my one question. My next one is, we do have a scheduled health board meeting for tomorrow, since we're here. Would you like to move ahead with it, or tomorrow there might be more information that I can pass on to you?
I'd like it to be
Wait till-
tomorrow.
Okay, so it's tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll have more. Ted, what time was the AG call on the open meeting? Was it at 11?
I think so.
Okay, I'll get a time on that, but hopefully we'll have some more information. That's all I have, thank you.
So now do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
You have to public comment, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, public comment, yeah.
any more public comment? All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Question.
So, the health board tomorrow, I've been sending you guys emails, so you guys getting my emails.
Yes. Can I meet you?
Let me look. I'm going to do my.
Hi.
That's what I want, that's